right, so we're officially back. Stream is back up and going. Assuming we won't have any more difficulties. Of course, back here with Rob Spencer. Rob, you survived the break.
I survived the break. I'm learning more about the technology of a studio. I do not know anything about it, and I'm learning about camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, all of that. You did a great job there getting us back on.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate that. So we were in the midst of slamming Lindsey Graham. We were slamming Lindsey Graham well, I guess we were just reporting on Matt Walsh's slamming Lindsey Graham.
Yeah. Well, he said it probably better than you or I could. I mean, Matt Walsh is phenomenal. Now, you could disagree with Matt Walsh.
Yeah.
You know, you could dislike
he's had some
saying.
bangers the last few weeks.
Yeah, but what he's talking about is exactly what folks who are maybe America first, anti-war, let's quit policing the world. I believe that we do have some responsibilities in the world, you know, but I also think that when you've got all of these folks, especially like a Lindsey Graham, I mean, he just jumped to boots on the ground.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, let's just refresh our memories real quick.
Yeah, well,
guarantee that? Can President Trump in any form, can you make the commitment that this would not lead to a longer war?
I can guarantee you that if the Ayatollah gets a nuclear weapon, he will use it. I believe that with all my heart and soul. So the men and women who serve, they're the ones going, not people answering a poll. And if you ask them, would you be willing to risk your life to stop the Ayatollah from having a nuclear weapon? All of them would say yes.
All of them.
Because it makes their country, our country, safer. So we live in a world where you got to...
So the American people's voice doesn't matter, is what he's saying. Because, you know...
The people funding the war.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and it's really interesting because even Mark Mitchell, who is the chief pollster, the only pollster, he would say, I interviewed him right before the election, of Rasmussen reports.
Yeah, that's the best.
Mark Mitchell, you know, he did polls and it polled the people, you know, how many of you want to go to war with Iran? And it was off the charts, no. You know, most people like, you know, well over 50%. And then the next question was, how many of you support Iran having a nuclear weapon? And it was off the charts. People don't support that. And he was like, what do you do?
Well, then what's the solution?
What do you do with that?
I get it. It's the conundrum that you're in.
But, yeah, no, Lindsey Graham's never met a war that he doesn't like.
Gosh, he's been screaming it for years.
So then the next that we had up in the story was this alert saying that Vladimir Putin has now withdrawn support for the Islamic Republic of Iran. Now, I honestly think that if this is true, if this report is confirmed, it also legitimizes, again, this report from Annie Cyrus, who is reporting that the Supreme Leader has surrendered the throne, and that's why he's in the bunker, and that the Revolutionary Guard has taken over the country. And their report, she was on another program on Ex-American News, and she was saying, you know, that she got asked the question, you know, why do you think this happened? And one of the reasons was because the Revolutionary Guard is upset with Khomeini's passiveness, thinks he's been too passive.
It's hard to argue that when you look at the activities of, you know, Hamas and Hezbollah and all of these terrorist organizations that are funded by someone.
Right.
You know, and so you say, well, maybe he's being too passive. Okay, well, maybe directly he's being too passive. I don't know. Is he being aggressive through his, you know, what's the terminology there for your alternate egos, your ancillary people,
you know, your satellite, you know, terror organizations or that sort of thing.
Proxies.
That's
the word I was looking for.
Yes.
Yeah, so I agree with it. I feel like Annie's reporting might be correct here, and what do I know?
To read between the lines, it kind of feels like it is. Alex Jones thinks that Trump has been given intel that leads him to believe Iran already has a nuclear weapon. That's what he's reporting.
I don't think Trump said, but I think Trump says what he means, and he has said they can't have one. Yeah, and I feel like that's more leaning toward. We don't believe they have one yet, but they're on their way.
Right.
But how soon or how close, I think that's up for debate.
We talked about this. This was, you know, how volatile the situation is getting. So did you see this?
I did. It made me think instantly like, hey, folks, I don't know the good Lord is on your side. when this is happening.
Yeah, so we've got this Iranian lady on TV, and it gets bombed. Now, to be clear, Tel Aviv has been taking some major damage as well. I mean, it's tit for tat right now. A lot of the Iron Dome has failed, according to what I've seen. Although then I saw somebody, and this is the thing, as AI gets more and more advanced, can we even believe our eyes?
Who knows?
But this was from Iranian state TV.
صدای متجاوز به خاک وطن صدای متجاوز به صدای حق و حقیقت است آنچه که ملاحظه کردید صدایی که شنیدید فضای غبارآلوده استادیوم
So yeah, that was a bombing of the state TV of Iran, and then we have this. You sent me this, Rob, that Iran began receiving military support from its allies, China to Iran. So this is what's crazy is earlier on my show earlier I was talking about. I played a clip from Bill O'Reilly claiming that. That Trump doesn't want to use American air, doesn't want to use our air force yet, because he's worried about what Putin would say and what China is going to do.
And he's at a very pivotal point with China right now in these negotiations. Yeah.
So, but now with this report that Putin is no longer backing Iran, now you're thinking what is about to happen? And again, I don't think this is. I think the plot's been lost about this being about nukes. I think this is now just about total regime change is what we're seeing. So
we talked about, and I don't know if this is one of the articles that you had pulled up there, but the regime change. I read Tulsi Gabbard's book, and as the DNI. When you're having a sort of a military strategy session and you do not invite your director of national intelligence
at Camp David,
so I feel like that in itself is a statement of what we're about to see, or what we could very well see.
Well, and it really just kind of makes you, in a way, I mean, it doesn't. I'm not despairing, and I don't want anyone else to despair. But in terms of voting for the anti-war candidate, and then all of the struggle that went through getting her confirmed, and all of the, and it's only about a month ago that Donald Trump was in Saudi Arabia rebuking neocon foreign policy. Witkoff was giving interviews, the envoy for peace, saying we don't want to do this neocon foreign policy. I mean, Trump in Saudi Arabia totally rebuked the foreign policy of our whole lifetime, and said he basically was rooted in arrogance and pride and hubris to think that these Islamic civilizations are technically just inferior and are a step down. They're beneath us, and so we can come in. This is what Trump was saying. We can come in and we can do all of this stuff, and it's going to work out great. And he talked about how in every instance it's actually made things worse and destabilized the region. So, I guess my question is that the Trump from a month ago that said that, and and then Steve Witkoff that was saying that as well. What? Is there some nuance? Carve it out for me. Is there a nuance here that we're not getting? How is what is about to happen now? And maybe it is, but how is it different than the foreign policy that Trump rebuked in Saudi Arabia in that big speech about a month ago?
I think this is going to be studied. Every action over the next 7 to 10 days is going to be just extremely criticized. Every tweet, every post, everything is going to happen. I think the absence of information is also information when you're looking at, okay, look over here because we're presenting this. I mean, Trump was on, I think it was on Air Force One, and he was asked, did you warn Netanyahu not to bomb? Did you warn him? And he's thought about it for 3 or 4 seconds, which he never does, and he always just speaks. And he says, I want to be honest. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I warned him not to. And I was like, okay, you can say that he's loose-lipped and you can say all of that, but he studied that comment before he made it. What is he telling us by telling us that?
Right.
And what are they not saying? And I don't know that we completed the loop there for listeners that may not realize that Tulsi Gabbard is the anti-war, she is anti-regime change. So much so that she was criticized for meeting with Assad, and so she was accused of being Assad's puppet and even accused of having ties to Vladimir Putin. She was like ponying up to these, or what's the word, sucking up to these dictators because she didn't want these dictators taken out.
Yeah, that was a Hillary Clinton talking point.
It's exactly right. But I think that there was some truth to that she does not want us to go and remove the leader of another country.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so to Lindsey Graham's point, she was a soldier. Mm-hmm. She went over there and served, and she saw it. And that's the thing. That's what's so disingenuous. I saw Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan is running an ad right now. Have you ever listened to Sean Ryan's podcast? The former Navy SEAL.
Oh, yes, I have. Mm-hmm.
So he's running an ad right now, talking about if I've done this, I've had enough of this. I'm going to sit this one out. Mm-hmm. We don't want this. And so many former military people realize that their friends died for not America. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they're saying that this was not in America's interest. And so, for Lindsey Graham to sit there, it's really funny. I mean, Lindsey Graham, here's a guy who's never been married to my knowledge. There's multiple rumors out there that he's actually gay. That's why a lot of people call him Lindsey or Lady G. Okay, so that's all out there. He's never had children.
Right.
So what is that?
That's
he's been in there 30, 40 years. He's never actually had children of his own. You have kids. You know what that does to become a parent and how it changes you, and to have somebody making these types of decisions, advocating for more death, essentially, without actually understanding what it is he's advocating is really, really pathetic.
And I feel truly that as a parent, I can say wholeheartedly that I should have an opinion on this, and I have the right to have an opinion on this because all my 14-year-old son talks about is joining the military. Wow. He wants to join the military, and I think, okay, what commander-in-chief do I want him under? And I want him under one that's not going to send them to war unless absolutely necessary.
That's right.
Right? I think when the Japanese bombed us at Pearl Harbor, okay, I don't really know that we have a choice here, folks. I mean, Japanese had invasion. They had ground plans for invading the United States, and it was interesting to see basically how they were planning to take over the United States. The Japanese, So I feel like we didn't have a choice. So many of these regime change wars, what did we accomplish in Afghanistan?
Yeah.
What did we actually accomplish?
We gave them billions of dollars worth of military equipment, and thousands of American lives, and
20 years of a costly war.
Yeah.
So,
and they're actually doing something really clever now, because the slogan on the right within the MAGA coalition, and the people that don't want war, they're tired of the endless wars. We say, end the forever wars.
Yes.
Talked about this earlier, and this is a really good no more forever wars. Well, now it's being said by Benjamin Netanyahu, and Arkansas's Tom Cotton echoed this exact talking point, that yes, we want to end the forever war, and the forever war has been the Iranian regime. It's very clever what they've done.
Gosh.
That what Iran's been doing with their proxies, which I don't endorse. Again, this is not a binary choice in my opinion, but that's so clever to now say we have to end the forever war of the Iranians and their regime. And I'm thinking, man, that is just so disingenuous.
Yeah.
I actually think it shows that they know that the American people don't support this, or they wouldn't have to do these type of rhetorical sleights of hand.
We have to end the forever war by going to war.
Going to war again.
Ah, yes, you stupid imbeciles. You don't understand the complexity of wartime.
Man,
I get it, and I understand there's a financial. We were speaking about this over lunch, Paul. The financial interest that exists. There is a machine, a war machine, and it's been bleeding since Afghanistan.
Yes, it has.
It has been bleeding out, right? We had this through Ukraine, right? So that was the holdover, okay? And we're still involved. We're still involved in that. I mean, we're it's a much lower level than we were, but we haven't even made it completely out of that mess, and now we're heading into another mess. And I get it. You and I are both Christians, and there's a biblical support of Israel and all of it.
It depends on what eschatology you subscribe to.
For sure.
But yeah.
And so you look at it and you say, all right, do we follow them into everything? Do
some people say yes. I'm not one of those people, but
I think because who leads Israel? The spirituality of a Christian and or just anybody of faith. I mean, obviously Jews are not Christians, but you
Correct.
right? But there's a belief that Israel is God's holy land, and it's you know right of all of those things. And so, does that mean we support every decision that a human is in charge of making? Right?
That's a great point.
Do we say that Benjamin
a fallible, sinful human
correctly?
being?
Does Benjamin Netanyahu have a direct life? Excuse me. Does he have a direct line to the Lord Almighty? And hey, I want you to do this. I don't know. I would say no.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no. I'm going to say no. I think
Right.
that line is only through Jesus Christ.
Right. Well, you know,
that's our radio. For
correct.
speaking to God. That's a quote from Indiana Jones, but I digress.
And now we've come full circle.
now
here.
we've gotten to where I wanted the show to go.
Just want to throw this little tap
Yeah.
here. But I would just say this. I think that the United States, you know, there's an old Trey Parker and Matt Stone who writes South Park.
Yep.
Now we're really going full circle here.
No. But I will say this: like, isn't it incredible? Like, I used to watch South Park religiously growing up, and I know they're still making shows, and I never watch them. But man, those guys have been kind of prophetic in a lot of ways in predicting the craziness.
Do you know that one of their main, I think, claims to fame is that everyone is free game on that show? Like they will make fun of all sides.
Yep, they tried to draw Muhammad, and Comedy Central censored them. Back in the day, that was a huge deal.
Well, you know, so they wrote a movie, Team America World Police.
Oh yeah,
which the marionette puppets.
Wow,
and, you know,
I had forgotten about that.
Okay, but here's the cool thing about that, and I don't think they get enough credit because that is just a ridiculous movie.
Yeah,
right?
it's insane.
You know, and
bad intelligence, very bad intelligence.
Why can everybody be so? Why is everybody so stupid?
Yeah.
You can be smart like me. So they did. They everything they would do is Team America World Police was just about us policing the world.
Yeah.
Right. That's the whole premise of the movie.
Yeah, I know the song. Yeah.
Yeah, and every time that they would cut to, you know, such and such country, and it would say 6,337 miles from the United States, right? Of course, they're drawing that and saying, why are we policing people thousands and thousands of miles away from us? We've got enough problems here in the United States, you know, that we've got to overcome. So even popular culture sees that policing the world is at the end of the day, it is about the war machine.
What you said is, I think, what Tucker Carlson's afraid of. That Donald Trump, if this is not handled correctly, is going to become the next George W. Bush. And because that's what that movie was from, right? You know,
right?
Durka Durka, Mohammed Jihad, Durka Durka.
Durka Durka.
I mean, it was you know, he never got anything done in his presidency because of the Iraq War. That's what defines who he is, who he was in office.
And I think that someone needs to think about how quickly his approval rating changed, because after 9/11, most popular president in history, right? His approval rating was in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everybody was on his side, and for that matter, Rudy Giuliani was America's mayor.
Yeah, that's true.
How things have changed, right? You
Yeah,
know, and all of that
real.
stuff. But anyway, so he had the nation on his side after that, and so we're talking about terrorism and 9/11 and where the country of origin from the hijackers and all of that, and then they were like, we need to take Saddam Hussein out. And you're like, wait a minute, okay, hold on.
And then Dave Chappelle had that skit. He tried to kill my father.
Yeah. And you're just like, okay, wait a minute. Saddam Hussein. Okay, so you're saying that Saddam Hussein funded 9/11? No, it wasn't that. It wasn't him, but you know, he's over there. Yeah. He's in that area with the deserts and stuff. You know, like weapons of mass destruction was one of the biggest lies, as we all know, and we've come out to find that. And Donald Trump, to his credit, spoke out against invading
Jeb Bush in 2016.
Yeah, and he said, I was against this from the very beginning. I mean, you've got all of these revisionists who like to say, oh, I was against it.
Right.
You know, even Joe Biden said that he was against it. You're like, no, you weren't. Oh, you weren't.
Yeah, it's weird. Like my memory of the Iraq War, like my first memory was there was in high school there was this girl who, because I guess I considered myself a liberal in college, you know, more of a Democrat. And although I listened to Rush Limbaugh 3 hours a day, it was really a weird juxtaposition.
If you're a liberal listening to where your ears exploding,
I thought he made an incredible amount of sense.
Sure,
it was, but anyway, it's just weird, you know, how bifurcated you can be, you know, at a young age and just not have everything clear. But I was in high school graduating high school when they invaded Iraq in 2003, and there was this girl who was a huge Republican and was a huge Ann Coulter fan, and was just all about, like, yes, we got to invade Iraq. Huge Bush fan, just like loved it or whatever. And I guess I had listened to her. You know, she was like the only research I'd done. So then fast forward, I get to college, and I'm taking this political science class. And obviously the teacher was more of a liberal and everything else. And somehow the war comes up. And I just say with confidence that, you know, Iraq had something to do with 9/11. And I just basically, everyone's like, oh, you know, like, you know, I just get booed or whatever. And I'm like, what? That's not true. I had no idea. I assumed, I just assumed that this was part of the war on terror, you know, and that what happened on 9/11 when I was in the 10th grade, where, by the way, somebody ran into the class when we found out, somebody ran in and said that the World Trade Center had just fallen on top of the Pentagon. And I even knew that those were in two different places. Doesn't work. Yeah, I was like, so at first, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. Where were you on 9/11? Sure. But yeah, come to find out, man, the propaganda is good. It works. And that's what people just have to they have to understand, that the idea that we're going to know the truth about reasons for war is very, very slim. It just is. Well, they have an incentive to lie to go to war. Everybody does.
How long did it take to expose the lie, weapons of mass destruction? Right?
It didn't really fully with the American conscience, 20 years.
Yeah, which is why we're talking about such things 20 years later, because history, in my opinion, has such a easy danger of repeating itself. We are right there on the cusp of something. And I believe Trump when he said peace through strength. Like, that's, I mean, peace through strength. Okay. Is strength tweets? Is strength, or I guess they're posts now, is that what strength is? Or is strength drone strikes, ground troops? That doesn't sound like peace.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, I don't have all of the briefings.
Right. No, I mean,
we're two guys here in Northeast Arkansas talking about something, right, that affects maybe the entire world. But we have a stake in it, right? Yeah. We're taxpayers that fund these wars. I have a child who is
considering going to the military.
Correct. And we're a few years away from that making and something that starts today. Is it going to be over in 4 years? History has proven no.
Yeah, no. You know, it just goes on and on and on.
Because
it'll go to the next country, you know.
Yeah. The forever war is now this country.
Yeah, that's right. And tell us who to hate. You know, George Orwell, tell us who to hate. You know, what's interesting about wars and how they get started, one of my favorite movies is made by the liberal crazy person, Rob Reiner. By the way, South Park did a great episode on Rob Reiner back in the day, where he was so fat he needed more butter to grease himself in the doors. Remember that? It's like, more butter, give me more butter.
More butter.
Okay. Yeah. So, but he made, I'm sure you're a fan of the movie, The Princess Bride.
Yes.
Right? Carrie Elves.
My wife hates that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. Well, so it dawned on me a couple of years ago. I was watching it, showing it to my daughter. You know, she likes it now. But the whole movie is about starting a war on false pretenses.
Correct.
They've hired Vicini, and they've hired, you know, Inigo Montoya to kidnap her and murder her. Correct. And then they're going to plant evidence that it's from this other country so that the prince can go to war. Like, that movie's foundational plot is about a false flag event to blame on another country so that he can go to war. And I just think that's interesting. I don't know. I mean, this is what happens. This is the real statecraft that is American foreign policy, in my opinion.
The truth is right there in front of us, but it's not obvious. It's being hidden behind rhetoric. It's being hidden behind who is evil, right? It is really, really easy to villainize someone by calling them evil.
Yeah.
Right. And Lindsey Graham is the world's worst, in my opinion, because he's got such a pulpit. I'm sure there are tons of others, but he's got this pulpit to call someone evil, right? Well, they did the same thing with Saddam Hussein. Was Saddam Hussein evil? I mean, he shot his own family members sitting at the dinner table, right? And he did it to prove a point. But what happened after Saddam Hussein was removed from office? Chaos in the Middle East. It led to the rise of all of these terrorist organizations because there was chaos.
Yeah, and if you go even further back than that, the Iranian regime we're dealing with today was put in power by us.
Right.
our own government overthrew the
amazing?
Shah of Iran, and now that's what we're dealing with now. So the whole thing is so ridiculous, and no one seems to ever answer for this. No one, because their lives really don't change. It's not their sons and daughters that go and die for it. So, all right. So for those of you who are watching this right now, just know this. So we're broadcasting right now on X American News, which is over on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter. So I want you to go follow X American News. There's great lists of shows. My show earlier in the day, the Millstone Report, is on it, and we're going to start doing this program, daily in the next couple of weeks. We're going to kick it off, so we're also broadcasting on YouTube and Rumble and my personal Facebook page and everything else. But I just wanted to announce that. I want you guys to do that. We're out of time. We're about out of time. But I wanted to do something I wanted to do a local story.
Sure.
Because we also want to do that. We're going to do stories that are local and cover stuff that right here in my home state of Arkansas, your home state of Arkansas, which I affectionately refer to as the Shire. Because it kind of is insulated from a lot of the craziness that you see.
We are a little bit in a bubble here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But it's good.
It's a good.
I mean,
it's
it
a good
really
bubble
is good.
For certain political leanings. I would say that
definitely.
we're a red state.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we are. So.
I would even go further and call us a Christian red state.
Yes.
So here is what we're going to start. So the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Let me throw this up here. This is a headline that is a little bit strange. This did make national news.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there was an escapee, a guy by the name of Grant Hardin, led police on a let's see, how long was it? It was multiple weeks.
Yeah, it was
right?
a couple of weeks. He was gone, and they caught him within a mile of the jail or 2 miles of the jail, the prison.
So this is a former this convict, Grant Hardin, 56. He's a former police chief. He's serving 50 years in prison for rape and murder. He's known as the devil in the Ozarks, or the devil of the Ozarks. Is there a podcast about this?
There was a Netflix, I believe it was a Netflix sort of docu-series about it.
Okay.
And I haven't watched it, but that's his name. And that was his name before he escaped. I mean, he's well, you want to say, Lindsey Graham, there's an evil man right there.
Yeah.
Because he preyed on people. That's
sure.
what he was convicted of, but there are allegedly tons of unsolved crimes, and it was sort of linked to him.
So Arkansas Democrat Gazette says, Arkansas State police officers and Immigration and Customs Enforcement recaptured Hardin near Moccasin Creek, less than 2 miles from the prison on June 6. Hardin is currently being held, in the Varner Supermax unit in Lincoln County. I'm trying to figure out how long. So, yeah, there he is. Hardin, who served as police chief for 4 months in 2016, is charged with walking out of the North Central unit in Calico Rock on May 25th. The incident touched off a 2-week manhunt. They had to bring in people from Texas and all over.
Yeah, the FBI got involved and everything.
And so this guy who escaped from prison,
yes,
there's now new charges.
Yes.
Because he's being charged with escaping prison. And the man, this headline says, he's innocent. Grant Hardin pleads innocent to escape that touched off a 2-week manhunt.
That wasn't me you found in that hole. That wasn't me. I swear it.
I just I know.
Look,
this guy needs to take a L, man. Take the L.
Legally, I know that. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to plead not guilty.
What is he? We think he's going to be alive in 50 years?
Yeah, I don't know. You can go through the expense of trying him for this escape, or you can just throw him in the hole until he dies. I don't know. I don't know.
It's just absolutely crazy, though.
But
I just couldn't believe that headline.
Right. So obviously, it's a little bit of old news that he had been captured. We all know that, but it was interesting that he had his day in court and he pleads, that he's innocent.
Yeah,
I've been framed. That wasn't me.
It was the one-armed man.
Yes.
All right. Well, Rob, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's been great. Look forward to having you on again, like every time we do this, if we
Absolutely.
can. And then we're going to add guests. Because we've got a few other mics in here, and we're going to be talking to really just as many people as we can.
Yeah. So we talked about doing some political, obviously we'll do political things. We'll talk about things in the world and how it affects us to do local Arkansas news and all of that. But we're also Christian dads, and we want to, talk about the challenges of parenting. Well, this is going to be an interesting show. I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully with the feedback that we're getting, maybe we change topics. We do different topics.
Or maybe we can get audience to, give us topics and what they want to hear, that sort of thing. All right, well, that's all. That's that camera. All right, that's all the time that we have for this edition of the Paul Harrell Program. I want to thank Ex-American News for hosting the show, and we will see you guys. We're going to do this version of the show, the Paul Harrell Program, next Tuesday, so a week from today. But I will be back on the air tomorrow at 12 Central on Ex-American News doing the Millstone Report. So until then, we really appreciate you guys watching. God bless, and we'll see you soon.